I would like to introduce our first two explorers. And this is Sven and Stefan Hylander, who are members of the activation team. So what is it that we do, or that they do? Their job is to secure that we optimize the business opportunities that the race can create for us. I have two questions for them. Number one, what is the Volvo Ocean Race all about? And number two, why are we involved with sailing? Why do we do the Volvo Ocean Race? Sven and Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. So, glad to be here. Let me introduce you to Sven, a very professional sailor.
And this is Stefan Hylander, who doesn't have a clue of sailing. And this is my good friend, the Volvo Ocean Race trophy. That is the prize for the winning team. They don't get any prize money. This is what they're striving for. And right now, they are on the equator. Can you guess how warm it is? It's 40 degrees, and inside the boat, it's 50 degrees. Imagine that. Okay, I will take you through this Volvo Ocean Race and what the competition is all about, and give you some basic facts.
But Sven,
yes,
just one question.
Yes.
What is Volvo Ocean Race?
Okay, it is a 45,000 nautical mile yacht race with boats, fully crewed. Volvo Ocean 65s, identical boats. So it's up to the human being who's winning. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
It takes 9 months, but it doesn't take 9 months of sailing. It's also stopovers where we meet our customers. 2 weeks in most ports where you have those fantastic possibilities to make business. I take you back to 1973. That's when the race started. Look at that guy in the red sailing gear. That's Sir Peter Blake. He won each single leg in 89-90 on Steinlager, coming to Marston. I met them actually in 89-90. They came here as big heroes. At that time, we had wine on board. They had beer on board. I even had a guitar on board. It was a fun life. Today, it's fully professional. They hardly bring their toothbrush. They cut it in half in order to save weight. So it has changed completely. We are creating legends. And we had Mange Olsson. Many of you know him from Sweden. We had Ian Walker, the last winner of the race. We have Grant Dalton and many more sailors who become world famous through this race. And do you know what he's doing on the picture?
I thought it was a video camera, but obviously not.
It's taking the height of the sun with a sextant, navigating. That's how they did it. Can you imagine that nowadays? With all the satellites and GPS and everything. This is how they did it a few years ago, in the 70s, in the beginning of the 80s. So today it's called the Volvo Ocean Race. When we bought it, it was called the Whitbread. That was a legendary race that we took over in '98. And today the sailors call it the Volvo. Just the Volvo. I want to do the next Volvo, which is great for us, of course. And we have developed the race in certain stages. And we introduced the input race, which is a 2-hour race in the middle of the week in that particular port, also counting in points. And we have gone to new markets, China, India, which is very important for our commercial activities, bringing our customers. And also, we introduced a new one-design boat last race, 14-15, which is more stable, and it's up to the man or the women on board to sail, not technical development and so on, and big budgets. And also, we are back to the Southern Ocean. What is the Southern Ocean? Do you know that?
Somewhere in the south.
Yeah. Södra ishavet in Swedish, or in French, I don't know. Anyway, it's among the icebergs. It's between South Africa and Australia. And that's where the core of the race is. That's where the big waves are, and you're sailing like, you know, a dream in 35 knots. Waves going around the world non-stop.
But Sven, you're saying it's a dream, it's sailing in 45 knots, etc. Is it really that pleasure?
No.
No.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Because I've sailed so much, I know how it is. It's tough. You have to be very, very special, very, very motivated, very, very fit. And actually, we have guys who have been up to 60 years of age, so they can make it. And, but it's so tough.
Yeah.
It is.
And probably well paid.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
They're professional sailors. This is Johannes Karlsson from Volvo Penta, who is serving each boat when they arrive to each port. So Volvo Penta has stepped on board with the engine D275 for maneuvering into ports and also creating power on board for the water maker and the instruments on board. Great guy. Taking around the world, we started in Alicante in October, went to Lisbon just for a short stop, 2 stops in Europe for the first time, down to Cape Town, where the sailors finally can breathe and relax after very hectic periods in preparation times in Europe. Great backdrop with the table mountain coming in there. And then the classic leg we just talked about, to Melbourne. And that's a risky leg, that's a tough leg. We didn't have any accidents this time. We had a small repair of Axonobel.
But what happens if there is an accident?
Then we have the race headquarters watching. Oh, a boat is stopped. What happened? And they have to really call up through the satellite phones, and if needed, we take the closest competitor. There is nobody there. It's just our 7 boats, because it's the middle of the Southern Ocean.
And they will turn around to
Yes, and
assist.
they get some bonus time to get compensation.
Okay. But Southern Ocean, isn't there icebergs and other dangers?
Sure. And we have satellites now watching those icebergs and have ice gates to be safe. Volvo is really on safety, even in this Volvo Ocean Race. So we don't go that far down south. Anyway, going up to Asia, Hong Kong and Guangzhou in China, mainland China. So Hong Kong is going to be brilliant. A record number of customers in just a week or so. They're coming in. They have 3,000 miles to sail now. That's as long as the Atlantic Ocean, actually. So it's still a long way to sail, but they're coming in soon. And then down to Auckland, city of sails, where so many sailors come from in this race. And then around Cape Horn, where you get a bonus point. Up to Itachi, close to Curitiba, where we have the trucks and construction equipment and Penta factory and bus in Curitiba. And up to Newport in America, the home of sailing in America. Across the Atlantic to a new stopover, Cardiff. Going to be very interesting, back in UK. And then to Gothenburg, the city of Volvo. And continuing to The Hague in Holland. So it's not the finish this time in Gothenburg. But it's great to have a leg start as well. Shortly about the teams. Axonobel was first to register. And usually that is a benefit. But so far they've been a disappointment. Too much rotation in the crew, I think. And the other team is Dongfeng, which is a Chinese team, a sister company, Dongfeng, doing very well. A French skipper, a lot of French crew, and 2 Chinese guys on board, doing very well. The top team so far is the Spanish team, Mapfre, an insurance company from Spain. Super experienced, 2 wins already in 2 legs. Vestas won the first leg. That's Vestas 11th hour racing. You know what Vestas produce? Look outside the window here. Windmills, Danish company, and they have a revenge to take from last race when they hit the coral reef. Remember that? No good at all. They won the first leg into Lisbon, so that's a good revenge. And we have Scallywag from Hong Kong, and an Australian skipper and crew down the leaderboard a little bit, but they have a steep learning curve. We have Turn the Tide on Plastic, my favorite boat. Mixed crew, 5 girls, 5 boys. And a sponsor from United Nations, Clean Seas, a very good cause. And we have Brunel Baubecking, the guy who is trying to win for his 8th attempt. Dutch entry, a bit of a disappointment in the middle of the fleet, or slightly below so far. That's a great picture. That's what it's all about, surfing with the wind, with Vestas into Lisbon, winning the first leg. And that is another day at the office. That's how you have it in your office. Look at this picture. You can see that the people are attached through safety harnesses. So that's what it's all about. Don't fall overboard. And those sailors are attached if it's very windy and very wavy. Volvo has introduced so much safety work into this race. Orange keels is one thing if worse thing happens. Also a lot of training and education before the start. So the people are really well trained in safety maneuvers.
When I was out walking the other day, it was horribly cold outside, and the only thing I had in mind was what I will do when I come home. You know, getting warm and having some nice cup of coffee, etc. What does these guys think of 2 weeks ahead to the nearest point of civilization.
Yeah, that's what I think of is a warm sleeping bag, and it is warm because your neighbor has just used it. They share sleeping bags. That's when they get their coziness. But it takes half an hour to get all the clothes off, and finally you might get some sleep. But then the captain says, it's time to change sails, and you have to go up again and put the clothes on and fix it. You have 2 hours of sleep, 2 hours of standby, and 4 hours of racing. It's all about eating and sleeping and racing. It's tough.
And once they come to the port,
what do they do then? They hug their wives or their husbands, and they want a burger and a beer and some sleep. So it's tough life on board. That's what I want to show with this picture. It's really consuming a lot. Let's see this competition now. We have a question for you. Please, Stefan.
So, how often do you think the sailors are able to get a shower once they're out racing? Is it 1 per day, or is it 1 per week, or is it never? Think about it and push your phones.
How often do you go to the shower?
At least once a day. So I think that I have to wake up with a shower.
Yeah, you shouldn't go sailing the Volvo Ocean Race, I can hear that.
That's for sure. Sven mentioned they have to cut their toothbrush in half. So you can imagine there is no room for any showers on board the boats. The only showers they get is when the sea is flushing over them. That's the real shower.
Or if they're catching a cloud where there is wind and there could be some rain, they take the chance. Good guess. Right, let's move on. This picture shows the only female skipper. I said turn the tide on plastic, have 5 female sailors and 5 male sailors. Dee Cafari is the skipper. You can see her steering the boat here, together with Liz Wardley. Liz was here at Arendal when we had the employee sailing. Did you attend? Did you sail? Yes. So you know her. Liz was here, and she's sailing the Volvo Ocean Race now. Together with Martin Strömberg, the only Swedish sailor in this race, in this edition of the race. Finally, this is something new from Volvo, combining the crew. If you're 7 guys and you want to be more people, you have to add the opposite gender, normally a woman. So most teams, 6 teams, added 1 or 2 ladies, most of them 2. So that's 9 crew. Or if you're 5 girls and 5 men, you're 10, which is an advantage with more hands and more brains, female brains. That pays off. Over to you, Stefan.